Welcome back, everybody. This is Dawn Reedy from Excellence in Analytics. And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube program, go ahead and do that right now. So today we're talking about the secret language for leadership and exceptionalism. Far too often, I see leaders really talking to themselves in these ways that don't produce their best selves. I want to share with you some tips today to really continue to talk to yourself in a way that promotes your best self and the best self of others around you. I'm going to start with this idea of the power of bold vision. So let me tell you a little story here. So there was a scientist that's doing an experiment with fleas, and he puts a bunch of fleas inside of this mason jar and puts the cap on. And now the fleas are inside of this mason jar, jumping around, jumping around, jumping around. And after a couple of days, right, they seem to realize that they're not going anywhere. And so they stop jumping and they're jumping a little bit less. And then finally, there's no jumping going on at all. So he takes off the cap, the scientist takes off the cap, and sure enough, none of the fleas jump out. They've been used to and accustomed to this cap being put on them. And so, we as humans are susceptible, are vulnerable to the same kind of conditioning, right? When we have things in our lives that continue to put caps on us, that continue to suppress us, we start to think like that. So when the cap is released, then we find that we're not jumping around just like those fleas. We're seeing that it's released, but we don't really want to go there and get it. And so, why is this story so powerful today? Well, because this story is all about how we can show up as our best selves. And when we are not seeing the potential that we have, when we are okay with good and not moving forward with exceptional, then really we are essentially putting that invisible cap over ourselves. So sometimes we really must just simply destroy what's good in our lives. Let me finish so that we can allow in what can be exceptional in our lives. And so one way to do this is, one of my favorite authors, James Clear, he wrote Atomic Habits. He talks about all these habits that we can build into our lives that are really going to lead us to incremental success. And one of the things that he talks about is this concept of changing your identity, right? So let's say you want to go to the gym, you set your alarm and you're like, I want to lose weight or I want to get into shape. And so you set your alarm and maybe you're good a couple of the days, and then sure enough, you shut it off and you're like, I'm tired. I don't feel like going, right? And so you don't end up going. Well, you've only identified with the result, not necessarily the identity of what you want, which is to be a lean machine, right? And so when we identify with this new person, when we talk to ourselves as a new person, as an exceptional person, we are asking ourselves questions that lead us to exceptionalism, right? So when we present ourselves, when we think of ourselves in this other way, when we think of ourselves as this new identity, then we become that new identity, and the habits that we implement are only stepping stones to get there. They're not the thing that we're focused on, right? We're focused on our identity, and that's how we talk to ourselves. That's the language that we give ourselves. So if you are a brand new, leader in law enforcement, or maybe you are a brand new or a seasoned crime analyst and manager, and you're saying to yourself, I want to build habits that are going to give me success, right? That are going to give me success. I encourage you to think of this a little bit differently. Use different language. Identify with that successful person that you want to become. So if you want to be the most exceptional law enforcement analyst, supervisor that you can be, serving your agency with exceptionalism, then that's who you identify with. You are an exceptional, I use that word a lot today. Using that language, exceptionalism. I'm not just a good analyst. I'm an exceptional analyst. I'm an exceptional leader. And when you identify with language, with the person, with the identity, it's not just the one thing that you're going to do or the one habit that you're going to do to get you there. You're going to think and breathe and discover and learn and grow just like someone with that identity would do. All right. So that's really focusing in on the core values of who you are. So if you want to be this exceptional law enforcement leader, analyst leader, or executive leader, then what does that identity look like? What does that person do? What do they do every day? Well, they probably take really good care of themselves. They probably are focused on their own health and wellness. They probably are a great learner. You cannot be a great leader without learning every day. You just have to have that learning mentality, right? So if my new identity is to be this exceptional leader, what does that entail? Well, that means that I am regularly learning. That means that I'm regularly taking care of myself. That means I am regularly creating positive systems of improvement. That means I'm identifying all people around me as potential contributors to the larger success. And it's my job as the leader to identify how they can do that, right? So seeing the good in others and rising others. So when you've created this new identity of who you want to become, all of a sudden, all of these resources start appearing around you. So when you put the language on yourself that, I just want to be better, or I want to, do good, like it's not strong enough. That's not a bold vision, right? What you really want to do is create an identity that you can identify with, so that every single decision that you come in contact with, right? Now you are saying, how does my new identity answer that question, right? How does my new identity answer or respond? And so if you are, identifying as this leader, okay, how does my new identity deal with this challenge that has come upon us? So let's say the challenge is data quality, right? So somebody who's not thinking like a leader might say to themselves, "Oh, the data stinks. How can I do analysis? They don't get it. How, who am I going to blame? Essentially, those officers, those detectives, or whoever, right? Like they don't know how to." So that's how a reactive person will think. And then maybe you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm just going to do it because I'm going to fix the problem myself." That's not a leader mentality. A leader that you identify with you're going to identify with this person who creates systems, who helps everybody understand, who's in a win-win mindset, right? So these are all characteristics of the identity that you want to become. So when you have a data quality issue, you might say to yourself, how can I think about the greater good? How can I think about identifying the right people to bring on board to create better systems, to create better layers of success, and so forth? And how can I deliver that in a way that's going to be most impactful? So you're asking yourself questions based on your new identity, even if you haven't arrived there quite yet. So your new identity might say, what does a leader do? Like act like a leader right now. Don't wait until you've gone to school and done all the things. Act like that leader right now. So another example, if you are identifying as this great analytical leader, one of the things that you are doing is you're always up to par about the new things that are going on. You're always doing and understanding best practices, right? So what do you have to do? What are some of the habits that you have to build in to identify with that identity of being a great leader? Well, you may have a leadership time block in your schedule. Maybe, 4 hours every Friday, you are growing your leadership. You are growing your understanding of the best practices in law enforcement. That's the point. That's the focus of those 4 hours, right? So that's one habit that is a result of you identifying with your new identity. So today is really about shifting your language to be less reactive and less like, that approach of what habit can I do today that won't last, because you haven't truly identified with the who you want to become. So that's where to start, identifying with the who you want to become, and then become that person. Make decisions, make habits, do things that all are in alignment with the who you want to become. All right, that's it for today. Go ahead and subscribe if this was helpful for you, or you think that someone else could really benefit from this. Go ahead and share this video, subscribe to this YouTube page, and continue to come back and learn and grow together.